All right, if you're watching this video, you are taking the Clean Up Those Cables classes from the TKGA, and you've worked your diagnostic swatch, and you're ready to make the diagnosis on problems that you may have with messy cables. So here is the diagnostic swatch. It's been blocked, and you can see part of this edge is curling. It should not be. Other problems you can see with this swatch right off the bat, you can see some rippling up here in this garter stitch border and some real distortion going on here. You can see that the fabric wants to be wider here than at the top, and that is all problems with cable flare, and that's a whole nother class in and of itself. But once you get rid of the cable flare, you'll have a nice box and your surrounding fabrics will neaten up. As far as this class is concerned, we're looking for tension problems and things that distort and make your cables messy. And the first thing that we want to look at is whether the cables are three-dimensional. You don't want them to be flat, and if you overblock them, you'll see they kind of will flatten out into the fabric, but you want them nice and plump. This is a textural knitting technique. One of the big things that we're looking for, and the first thing that we discuss in the course, are ladders or loose purls, and this swatch has plenty of them to show you. This one has ladders going all the way up the sides of this cable, has a few ladders here. Now here on this side you can see there's a little bit of a distortion or tension problem right here, but it's not necessarily a consistent problem along the side of that cable. You will rarely see laddering along the right side of your cables, and you don't see that on this swatch. What you want to notice is the laddering worse when the cables are crossing to the left or to the right? Or is the laddering the same for both or non-existent? And that may give you some insight into maybe when I'm cabling to the left, I might be having a little bit more problems than when I'm cabling to the right. Just something to think about. Sometimes you could make an adjustment in your pattern. If you were knitting all cables that were maybe stripes that lean to the left and you just were having a horrible time, you could change those cables. But that's not always, and it's definitely not a good solution to the problem. The best solution is to fix it. The next thing you'll want to be looking for are stretched stitches within the cable. And if you look here, you can see these cables here have some stitches that are a little bit larger than the stitches that are within the normal stockinette fabric. And this is a problem because when you are using that cable needle, you're stretching the stitch, and once a stitch is stretched, it's almost impossible to get it unstretched. If you look over here, you can see some stretched stitches, but they're not in quite the same relationship to the cable as these. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what's going on. These stitches are stretching as you're moving from the cable needle to the background fabric. And the course offers some solutions that will help you fix that transition point. These are just rope cables that go over each other, a twisting cable. Here we have an uneven type of cable where one stitch is crossing over several stitches. And in this case, the stitches are going to be stretched just by the nature of that type of cable. The important thing, and it's what gives the cable its unique look, but the important thing is that they're stretched evenly, so that all of these that are leaning to the left are the same size, all of these that are leaning to the right are the same size, and more importantly, or as importantly, these are the same size as those. They mirror each other. So you'll want to take a look. Is one direction stretching more than the other? Are you having problems just in general with size of everything? They give you an idea of things that you need to work on. The next type of cable you'll be looking at are traveling types of cables, and these cables are moving over the background fabric rather than moving vertically upward. These ones travel across the background fabric, and again you can run into overly large stitches, laddering along the left edge. And you can see there's a lot less laddering along this cable and a lot less distortion of the stitches. And finally, the next thing you want to look at is your background fabric. And if you look at the picture that's on the very, very first page of the course, you can see some really good examples of poor background fabric. This one I tried to get some laddering going, not laddering, but some rowing out going on in this background fabric. And there are loads of solutions for fixing rowing out, but basically you need to take a look at your knitting and your basic tension. Now, if you're getting laddering in here, it's probably because you've got a lot going on. You're switching around needles and so forth. And some of the solutions in the course will help you fix the background fabric. So from this, you should be able to take a good look at what's going on with the direction your cable's moving, the type of transition that you're making, and the problems that you might be getting from those maneuvers. And then you're ready to go forward and work the next set of swatches and apply some of the solutions that are listed in the course materials.